Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, member of the Podbros Podcast Network. Don't forget to go to podbros.com and find yourself another podcast that you want to listen to. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company, Tape Armor, and Rolls Gear. And don't forget you can get your Jiu-Jitsu shirt at trapandrollsoap.com. I'm Rob, and this is the finale episode of the Origin Immersion Camp week. Mr. Pete Roberts, the man who helped figure this out, helped create the Origin Camp, who helped, he's one of the owners of Origin, the host of the Hands in Daylight podcast, all around great dude. And just, I think this is also like a milestone because it's the first ever Big Jiu-Jitsu Party podcast, because we did it in the middle of a party. So I'm sitting there with a beer in my hand, Pete's sitting there eating a sandwich. Like, it was a really good conversation, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. So don't forget to go to our website, bjjshow.com, find another, some of the other old episodes that you want to listen to, and don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes, find us on YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys after this show. I think it's first ever like party podcast that we've ever done. So, I mean, not counting any roundtables and stuff. So, it should be a good one. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, and you are listening to the first ever party podcast that we've done. So, I've got Pete Roberts here, one of the, the man, the guy who's put this all together, the Origin Immersion Camp. And, Pete, first of all, I want to thank you for taking some time out. I know, you've probably been running around like a chicken with your head cut off, dealing with the
little
campus.
bit.
Just a little bit?
How close do I have to get to the mic?
Right there is good, man. Yeah.
This close?
You can be, as close as you want. I will adjust it.
I want to be this close.
You can be as close as you want, man. Everybody's going to listen to you. That's fine. So, like I said, thanks for taking some time out. I know it's been an experience. This is my first year here. I've seen a lot of cool shit. I've been able to train, and I'm very and the people here are amazing. So I saw
you have a war with little Jimmy.
Oh,
yesterday.
You saw that? Oh,
yeah.
I think it was a very one-sided war on that.
I don't know. It was pretty good. You look good, man. You got good flexibility.
I
saw you sit in lotus position today.
So
I was like, whoa, I'm not rolling with him. He sits. He's I don't know, what are you, 260, 270, 280?
Yeah, about 260.
Yeah. And sitting lotus position, that's a problem.
It's I will attribute that to Taekwondo.
Oh, you did Taekwondo?
I did Taekwondo from 2001 up till about 2012.
Man, I did Taekwondo from 2001, and I competed in Taekwondo.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. That was my first after college football. I picked up Taekwondo because I wanted to be a fighter.
Yeah, and that was
I was cool. This is cool, kicking and punching, and I competed. And after a couple of years, it was okay, what's after this? And so I found jiu-jitsu.
So how did you find jiu-jitsu? Because I know you said you played college ball. Where'd you play college ball at?
University of Maine, Orono.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you said after that you just wanted to start kicking people in the face.
Pretty much.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I was pretty athletic and flexible, and could move pretty quick, and yeah.
So how did you find jiu-jitsu out of Taekwondo? Because that's kind of
I was I can answer that. It's easy.
Yeah.
There was, because I did traditional Taekwondo and then Olympic style.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't you let you punch people in the face?
Yeah.
You can only kick people in the face, which I did a lot of.
Awesome.
But I was just there's something just a little bit tweaked about this. It's more of a sport, not as much as realistic.
Yeah.
And then I saw, UFC like every other person on the planet. And I was like, I need to train that thing right there.
Yeah.
So went to the gym. There was 2 schools in the state of Maine. Went to one, and some 150-pound computer geek choked me out, almost cold. And I was like, okay, I'm hooked.
And that's the thing too. You're not exactly
you're not exactly a small guy. You're actually a pretty physically intimidating person. Like,
I don't know about that.
I would say, well, for guys our size, right? You know, height.
Yeah.
You've got a good build on you.
Mm-hmm.
Usually for like smaller people, it is actually kind of a physically intimidating thing. I found.
It is 1:45 in the morning, September 1st, 2018.
Yeah.
We have 50 people from the Origin Immersion Camp enjoying their last day of camp. We just trained till about 11 p.m. and we're hanging out here in the cafeteria, mowing down cookies and sandwiches.
Midnight Sammy's.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And
that's where the noise is coming from.
Yeah. That's why it turned into the first ever Big Jiu-Jitsu Party podcast.
That's right.
But it is the Origin Immersion Camp party. So you've gone from playing college ball, kicking people in the faces, doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And you've had quite an awesome run with jiu-jitsu as well, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun, you know. I did the whole competition thing. That was cool. And then became so obsessive with it. Built a factory in my backyard. And that was pretty awesome and hard on me and my family. But we had a dream to make gis in America. And we got a bunch of people involved that bought into that idea and helped us execute it. And so that's what we've been doing since 2013.
Yeah. And this is how many years of the immersion camp?
7.
7 years, man.
Yeah. 7 years.
I'm actually pretty upset that I was supposed to come last year.
Yeah.
I told James. James always gives me shit about this because he was like, hey, you're coming this year, right? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll buy my camp ticket. And then I came down on orders to go to Africa during the camp. And I was like, fuck, I can't make it. That was last year. But now I'm here, and you guys have sucked me in, and I've probably
You're hooked in.
I am, and I'm probably gonna get in a boatload of trouble for the amount of gis I bought. So
no.
that's all right. It's fine. It's just good to switch them out. You know, get good, made in the USA gis, and support a company that is doing something which to me is quite interesting because a lot of people, you'll get like kind of these fly-by-night gi companies, right?
Yeah.
And they'll outsource it to Pakistan. They'll say, hey, give me a show-you roll cut, give me a whatever cut, turn around, sell it for whatever, and then that's it. They don't really do anything aside, just say, hey, put my fancy logo on it. But you've actually taken an idea of making gis in the U.S. and have, one, made it a reality, and two, have actually, successfully turned out some really amazing gis, like the Oletta. That is an amazing gi.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, at one immersion camp early on, I think it was 2012, I was wearing a pair of our prototype pants.
Yeah.
That we basically altered a pair of imported gi pants to what we wanted.
Yeah.
And I remember getting shit from some of my friends that have been in the game for 15, 20, more than that, 20 years.
Yeah.
World champions. And they're like, that's never going to work. Jiu-jitsu guys will never accept that. And I said to him, I'm not trying to build a product to sell to you. You're a world champion black belt. I said, I'm trying to build a product, and you've grown up with a certain thing, and you're used to that, and I get that. But if we were still wearing leather helmets in football with our new science on concussions, how do you think that's going to go over? Well, it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. The kimono hadn't changed in, I don't know, how many years, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Well, what if we changed it and actually built a gi for jiu-jitsu? Because traditional gis are built off the fact that they need to get every inch of fabric as a usable textile. That's why, big, if you've ever seen kimonos from Japan, how there's these big cuffs.
Yeah.
That's because when they cut the fabric, they can fit in that shape. It's a T shape. They put the T in, and then they rotate it, and it fits in right underneath. That's why they have these huge cuffs.
Really?
Yeah. And so that's where kimonos came from, was the attire. And it turned into martial arts because that's what they had to wear. And they started to streamline it a little bit, but nobody really looked at it objectively and said, is this right? And I think that we just had an opportunity to do that. And, man, I mean, I think that's maybe what I've added to jiu-jitsu and to Origin is I asked the question, is this right? And I've started to answer the question with my own ideas and then gotten people involved to help me answer that question.
Yeah.
You know, how the human body works, biomechanics, how things should fit, how they should move on your body when you're on the mat or when you're moving your limbs, you know, and how it should act when you're sweating, you know, when somebody's grabbing you. And we looked at these things because of my obsession for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
and changed the apparel, changed the gear for the game is what it boils down to. And we're still changing the gear for the game. That's what we're doing every day.
So with the more that you put out, with the more you put out, Jesus, Rob. Anyways, so the more stuff you put out, the more you move forward with Origin, and the more evolution you do with it. Because even from the 2016 Axiom that I have up to now the Athleta, there's a huge difference in that. So it's always a constant evolution with the things that you guys do. And I mean, I know there's some stuff like close, like, you know, you keep it under the desk and stuff. But
I mean, I can share some things. Like, here's an idea.
Okay.
Right, when you think about it, if you took a bunch of straws,
yeah,
right, and you grouped them in a batch, so you had like a stack of straws and taped them up, and you put it in water and you picked it up, where's the water going to be held? It's going to be held in the straws, right?
Right.
Where else is it going to be held? It's going to be held in the crevices that are made up by the straws being round.
Right.
So if you put 4 straws together, you have a diamond, and in that diamond you capture moisture and water. So right now what we're looking at is new fibers that are hexagonal or octagonal, so that there's no extra room for water to stay. Because honestly, in jiu-jitsu, it would be much better if your gi didn't get weighted down. Now, our gi's already, the things we build, the textiles we make, they like dry. We say, hey, it dries as you go. It dries as you roll. You know, you take it out of the dryer and it's going to be dry the same day.
Yeah.
If you don't wash, I should say, it'll be dry the same day unless you dry it. So they're moisture wick and they dry quick, and we look at the fiber, then spin the yarn, then weave the fabric. Right here in Maine, we weave the fabric and then cut and sew the product. And when people walk into the factory, they're like, whoa. We had Charlie Brenneman, you know, the Spaniard from the UFC.
Yeah.
He registered for camp this year, and he came to camp. And we have a bunch of dudes that come to camp, that unbelievable people around the world that fly in here. We had 200, over 300 people total, but 200 for session A and 200 for session B. And he was like, man, this is crazy. You know, like this, like when I walk in here, it's like shocking. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you're watching people build a product, you know, and it gets you thinking, you know. It's awesome to see, man. It's awesome. It's like a Russian ballet of stitching and pieces coming together and being formed into a product that we're then going to use as jiu-jitsu practitioners. So
yeah. So not only just the gis themselves, the gear. I mean, you guys have run the gambit on a lot of just outside of just gis, like, you know, the hoodies, the rash guards, T-shirts, stuff like that. And I know the camp has been a vision for you as well. When you first started this camp, was there like any concern, kind of like, I don't know if the camp's going to work out? Because now it's huge. It's amazing.
It's super nerve-wracking. You know, I've never told anybody this. In 2011, we were going to have a camp. And we had 17 people registered. Might even been a little less than that.
Yeah.
17 people. You can't even run a camp with 17 people. You're not covering close to a quarter of your expenses. And we had a massive storm come through in 2011. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a hurricane.
Was it Sandy?
It might have been.
Yeah, the one that hit New York City was pretty bad, right?
We had to cancel camp.
I think, yeah.
We had to cancel camp. It was like the greatest weight off my shoulders. I was like, "Oh God, I'm so glad this storm hit," because I didn't know what we were gonna do, and I kind of put it on the back burner, and I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea, but got that energy back, got the idea flowing, marketed it better, and came back the next year and said, okay, we're definitely doing a camp. We have a better plan of action, and we tackled it head on, and it's been a growing product for us. And honestly, it's a product because it's the Origin Immersion Camp, right?
Yeah.
It's actually something we do, even though it's an event, but it's the best time of year because I get to spend time training all week long, spend time with my friends and friends that I've made over the years, and be here in Maine during the change of seasons. It's a magical place, it really is, and it's why I call it home. It's why we have the factory here.
That's pretty out here is pretty amazing because I've never been to Maine, right?
Yeah.
There's never really been a not a drive, but mainly like it's been on the list, you know what I mean? So now that I have something that like helped put it more of a higher priority, to be able to come out here and see it is pretty amazing. Yeah. So the logistics of a camp of this size, right? This is pretty much what outside of jiu-jitsu camp, it's like what, a summer camp for
affluent youth.
Affluent.
It's the nicest camp on the East Coast.
It is amazing, yeah. Like I was looking around, like the cafeteria.
Yeah, this cafeteria costs like I want to say $3 million.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's ridiculous.
Nice. Yeah.
We rent the whole campus out for the week.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So logistically, going from that 17 original to the 300 plus that you've had over this week.
Yeah.
Growing pains, there will absolutely be growing pains. So what's something you never really expected to have to deal with when it came to getting the camp to this size?
Something I've never expected to deal with? I honestly, my answer to that is I expect that we're going to provide the best possible product and experience we can.
Yeah.
And we can fit 900 people in here.
Yeah.
And we might need to have a couple more pavilions built for more mat space, and we might go from 5,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet, but I don't set expectations, we just go, and we just create momentum and move. We move forward. That's it. And we're having fun. So any challenges, we just take them head on. I mean, there's nothing like building a factory. So running a camp is a cakewalk, you know what I mean, compared to building a factory. Yeah,
that's true. And on top of that, you do a little podcasting on the side, don't you?
Yeah.
A little bit. Just a little podcast.
A little podcast.
What is it? Hands in Daylight, I think it is.
Hands in Daylight.
That's actually a really amazing podcast. I really enjoy listening to it.
Appreciate that.
So the formation of this podcast, like I said, you've really run a lot of things together. You've got the camp, you've got the Origin product, and now you've got this podcast. So I know a lot of people have really different stories on how they created a podcast. Like for me, when I started this, it was legitimately me and my buddy Sean sitting in his office saying, "Fuck it, let's start a podcast."
Right.
How did Hands in Daylight come to fruition?
Jocko Willink is one of my business partners, and he has Jocko Podcast, which is probably it's in the top 10 on iTunes for business.
Yeah.
Every week for a couple of years. He's got a platform to talk to people, to proliferate his message. And he invited me on podcast 93 and allowed me to tell the origin story, and we got a lot of good feedback from that. And
Yeah.
I started thinking about like where people are in their life. There's so much external forces trying to pull their attention. Everybody's vying for your attention. And what people want to do is they want to pick and choose the type of, let's say, content, right? Whether it's TV or going to the movies or reading a book. And the podcast, the opportunity for podcasting is so great because it's on demand. So it fills the void of I need something and I need something now, but it's also very personal.
Yeah.
You know, and as Jocko told me, he said, Pete, he said, when you read a book, your brain's interpreting the words. When you watch a movie, you're interpreting the visuals. I said, when you're listening to a podcast, the sound, the message, the voice is going directly through the ear into the brain.
Yeah.
And you build real relationships with people. And I just said, man, that's powerful. And it's something we need to harness for our growth and messaging as we push this out to the masses. So it's something we had to do. Hands in daylight. Hands in daylight.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And going from there, like, listening to it, it's a really well done podcast. I really like the format of it, and you guys really hit on some stuff that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, which is something I appreciate in a podcast because it's like it's not like Instagram. I always talk about it, like not talk about it on the podcast, but I tell people like you can take a picture on Instagram and be like hashtag living that jiu-jitsu life, and then somebody they don't show the part where you get like smashed in the face by like half guard or like just some terrible position, right? But you guys actually hit on stuff that's like, oh man, like that's not fun. But you go through the struggles.
Yeah, people put on a mask. Like it's just not my style. Like I don't give a shit what people think about me. Like it doesn't matter. What really matters is my friends and family. Yeah. And that I'm on the right path doing the right things in life. And so that allows an emotional detachment and the opportunity to be transparent and not try to act a certain way or be a certain way. It's just like, I don't care, man. I live out in the woods in, the foothills of Western Maine mountains.
Yeah.
Like in a small timber frame house. Like that was my dream in life. So everything else is like a bonus. Yeah. So I don't have anything to hide. This is what we're doing. If we wanted to, dude, we could have cashed out on importing. I'd literally be retired. I literally could have cashed out. But what does that do? Well, it's great for me, but it's not good for anybody else.
Yeah.
It doesn't help and not for that to sound cliche, but what does it actually do? Where's your legacy? What are you leaving to your kids? What are you leaving to your community? The place I grew up in, the place I love, it doesn't leave anything for anybody. So I try to balance the equation out, and I think that's why people think I'm maybe a little bit crazy, but
well, I mean, a lot of ideas that seem to be crazy are kind of outside the norm, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it seems to be those crazy ideas are the ones that work because that's kind of what people want. It's kind of what people need, right? So for example, right, the only options you could ever really get for gis and jiu-jitsu wear came from Pakistan, India, stuff like that.
It came from Brazil. That came from judo
originally. Yeah.
Yeah, Tama changed it up. They used to have the reason they had like a a jacket with a panel in the back is because they had to get the fabric was not as wide.
Yeah.
And they needed to salvage every bit of fabric, so they started stitching pieces. And then Thomas said, "Let's make a one-piece jacket," and they started doing that. And they pushed it a little further, but that's where it ended. And then all the free trade stuff opened up, and that free trade stuff, stripped the jobs from the people. And that had an effect, whether you want to admit it or not. It had an effect. Show me a factory that's working, that is on a river in any state in New England. There isn't one.
Yeah, and you're one of them that's actually bringing jobs back.
Yeah.
To people, and that's amazing. Like going through the tour of the factory, like it was actually quite impressive.
Yeah.
I was like, because I remember you talking about like you got the one machine doing the weaves and stuff. Now you're rocking and rolling. You've got like multiple people sewing. You got people cutting stuff out. You got people doing designs. You got people doing embroidery, sales, like everything. Like that's like a really, really big part of it. That's actually powerful. Quite amazing.
There's like 40 people in the factory, between administrative, sales, and operators, which make the product that are cranking stuff out every day, and it's an awesome thing to see, awesome thing to witness. So for
your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, 2nd degree black belt. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Appreciate that.
So as a black belt, as an instructor, as somebody who not only just leads people in work, but also in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do you find a lot of carryover between being the coach and being a black belt as well as being the guy in charge?
First of all, jiu-jitsu for me is a very personal thing. I like to train in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest teacher in the world. Now, I can teach. I know I can teach. I've taught a bunch of guys jiu-jitsu, and they're good. But for me, it's about training.
Right.
It's a selfish thing. I use jiu-jitsu as a tool to be a better husband, father, boss, team member, all that stuff. It's a tool to keep your mind clear, and hungry at the same time. So it absolutely affects every phase of my personal life. Yeah. So
you find because I can only imagine, right? Because I don't run a business myself. I can only imagine there's going to be a couple stressful points you hit. And have you found the whole being comfortable with being uncomfortable thing has carried over to to finding those challenges in work?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you get mounted and you get your back taken and you got to defend it. And it's the same thing in business. I mean, there's a lot of parallels. There's the ability to adapt and overcome, and keep your mind clear and not get too emotionally involved, and understand that there's escapes and opportunities, and you can always go back on offense.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to tap out too, and restart.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
nice.
A lot of parallels.
Very cool, very cool. So before we head out, Pete, there were two things I want to hear. If you could give anybody who's starting on their dream, starting on their journey, they've got this idea on paper, they're like, oh, this shit's crazy, I don't know if it's going to work, and, you got family members saying, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what advice would you give them?
Business related?
Anything, and then you can say business as well.
There's dreams and there's belief in yourself. A dream is something you do consciously or subconsciously. And that's great, but you have to turn that into something. You have to believe in those dreams, right? And then there's that thing that you're trying to do. and everything in between is a void. You know, and you need to fill the void with action, right? So you can't go through life thinking you're owed something or thinking you're going to do something, and you know, it's better to just like keep your mouth shut and go take a step forward.
Yeah.
You know, and do it. Because when you start doing, that believing becomes even stronger.
Right.
And then people see that. They see the strength in that. You know, and people want to be part of successful things. You know, the moment someone wants to tear you down, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah.
You know, that's a fact. So you've got a belief in yourself, you're going to make it happen. And then you have that thing that you want to make happen. And in between is the void. And you have to fill the void with some type of action. And that's where people get lost and get into the weeds. So it takes work, man. It takes grit. It takes a certain level of, honestly, a certain level of naivety.
Yeah.
A certain level of ego, swagger, arrogance, whatever you want to call it, to believe you can.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it takes action, and that's what it boils down to. So I'd say tune out the noise, allow the fog to burn off, turn out the noise, allow the fog to burn off, and move forward. So
Excellent. So, Pete, I really do appreciate you coming on the show, man. I know, like you said, it's been, 1:45 we started this morning?
Yes, and it's about that now.
So, one last piece. Before we head out, is there anybody you want to give a shout-out to, anybody you want to say thank you to? The floor is yours.
Thank you to you, man. Thanks for coming to camp.
Oh, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's people like you who make this possible, you know, who actually believe in what we're doing, who look at that Origin thing through social media and online and say, there might be something there, and you took action, right? I mean, we talk about it. You know, this is the end game, right? We want to get you here and start building these relationships, these real relationships. But you had to take action to get here, you know, and that's powerful. You know, it's powerful for you to be here and 220 people to do that, you know, and I think that the communities that are built, you know, in this place year after year, man, it's something people are going to take with them for the rest of their lives. It's like one of those memories, you know, the camaraderie and the brotherhood that's built. So, yeah, thank you, man, for having me on. Appreciate
Always,
it,
man. Dude,
yeah.
I'm super stoked. I got to get you on here, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty. This is the grand finale I want. I want the man with the vision to be
appreciate that.
the last one of the week. So I really do appreciate you coming on, Pete.
Yeah, anytime.
Fucking amazing story. I really hope people need to jump on Hands in Daylight podcast to get the full story.
Yeah, definitely.
Of Origin. So
cool.
So
I appreciate it, brother.
Anytime, man.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the another episode of the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, a member of the Pod Bros Podcast Network. Don't forget to go to podbros.com. Find yourself another podcast you want to listen to, and don't forget to check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company, Tape Armor, and Rolls Gear. And you can find all of our old episodes on bjjshow.com. I'm Rob.
And I'm Pete.
Yeah, fucking Pete. I'll catch you guys next time.
All right, bye.